Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome to For Chris's Sake. My name is Chris Anthony Lopez, and today we're back for another review of Loki Episode 3. For those who don't know, this Loki show is just, they're definitely not pulling any punches. I think that this show is absolutely on fire, and Episode 3 was no different. But before we even talk about the episode and all its full spoilery goodness, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel because right now we are live on WAT Reel Entertainment. You see my name down at the bottom, Chris Lamentis Lopez. What's going on, Brandon in the chat? What's good, brother? But if you're watching on WAT, whether live or after the fact, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. Follow us on Twitch or subscribe to us on Twitch. Like us on Facebook. All that jazz, all that fun stuff. And of course, if you're listening to this on the For Chris's Sake feed, first of all, thank you. Second of all, make sure you subscribe and follow because I have a bunch of content coming up this upcoming Monday. I'm doing my definitive Pixar ranking this upcoming Monday. That's going to be fun. And we might have some other fun things in the pipeline, especially the High School Musical, the series review. That's definitely going down over the next couple of weeks because that show's on Disney Plus too, and it's pretty damn good if I say so myself. But here I am talking some Loki, but I'm not alone. Why would Chris be alone talking about some Loki? I got to bring out my friends to talk Loki with me. And this week we got another returning guest, and his name is the Suge Knight. 323 Suge, what's good, brother? What's good?
What is up? Sorry, I apologize. My internet started acting stupid and it went out, and I sat here in the middle of doing a final and had to scramble to get it back on. And then once I got it back on, I had to turn in the final. So that is my bad. I apologize. How's everybody doing today?
Nah, man, I'm good, dude. Today's been weird. So my sleep schedule's all messed up again, right? Like it's all goofed. Last night I got approximately 2 hours of sleep, but I took like a 5-hour nap in the middle of the day yesterday. So I went to sleep really like 4 p.m., woke up at 9, went back to sleep at 4, woke up at 6, went to work. Bang! Here I am. I'm here though. I'm here and I'm rocking. I am absolutely on one. But man, besides the internet, how are you, Suge? Before we start talking some Loki.
I'm doing okay. It's been kind of a weird week. Like you said, weird week, kind of a shitty day. People really get on my nerves and just
Word.
Like it's typical life shit. But yeah, one thing I do look forward to is hanging out with you, Chris, and talking Loki, or just in general talking Schmodown and stuff like that.
You already know, brother. You already know.
So I'm super excited to be here. It's gonna make things a little better today, hanging out with you. Sorry, it's hot. It's hot in the house right now, so I had to wear a tank top. So
I had no shirt on prior to getting on this stream, so you're fine. Like I had, and my shirt for those who can't see, or for the audio listeners, it's Stan Lee, like half Stan Lee face, half Spider-Man face, because that's what we're on today. We're talking about some Marvel stuff. We're talking Loki, maybe not Spider-Man, not yet, but we're definitely talking some Loki. But Shug, before getting into this episode, really, I saw that I didn't watch this until last night, so I definitely got a lot of reactions on social media. And some folks were saying that this episode was like filler almost. I saw the F word thrown around a little bit. And I'm over here like, really? There's only 6 episodes and we're throwing filler episodes in? I find that hard to believe. Did you get the same feeling when watching this? By the way, full spoilies. We're not holding back at all. But did you think this was filler?
I don't think it was filler per se. I feel like it gave you some. First off, it reveals something big, so I don't know how that's a filler.
Huge revelation, and they shrugged it off.
Yeah, I don't see how it's a filler when you absolutely get a big piece of the show said. I understand that sometimes, you want all this action, all this stuff, but to me, it moved the story along. You got some key information. And you got some other information about Loki, the Loki we know, and then about Sylvie. Yeah, our Loki, TV Loki.
TV Loki, yeah.
And so, and look, I've been seeing stuff. I watch other people's podcasts. seeing stuff on TikTok. I want you to remember something, Chris. Remember
Uh-oh.
when we first did the first episode, and I said
Yeah.
I had a feeling that Loki was going to die, but it was going to set off the chain of events, and the new Loki would be our new Loki.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of looking like this.
Ah!
Kind of looking like this. You're kind of getting a lot of, you know. She's starting to. It was subtle, but she was trying to find common ground with Loki, and she did because they talked about her mother. They talked about each other's mothers.
Yes.
So that was something. And then, there was just the what they talked about and things like that. So to me, this is not a filler. It's just more backstory on Sylvie. It's a backstory on Loki because there's things said that I never knew. I mean, I kind of knew, but I never, when they talk about love, she said, "Oh, is there, I don't know how she says it, but framing it, and then he goes, or a prince." And
Right.
he kind of goes, yeah, he goes a little bit of both. That's a big revelation. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
And so for people to say it's a filler, I'll disagree a little bit. Is it going to be one of the episodes we look back on and go, oh yeah, that's the episode I want to go rewatch? No, but every episode has a purpose.
Right.
And you can see it in any show, Cobra Kai, Mandalorian, Falcon Winter Soldier.
So not all home runs, at least not at first.
Yeah, there's going to be episodes that are not those episodes where you go, oh yeah, that's the episode I need to go back watch. They're going to be episodes you're going to be like, okay, I get it, it helped, but it's not the best episode, and that's what this was. You got a lot of revelation. And actually, there was a part in the show where Loki does something I never knew he could do.
Ooh,
and it's kind of interesting. It was very, because I've never seen him do that before, and I'm like,
right. And I definitely want to dive into that third act at some point, because that third act was nuts. It was wild. Like the whole like last 10 minutes of the show is absolutely nuts. Really, the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, was there a little couple things that took me out of it? Sure, but it was for a reason that they did. They made the choices they did, and I'm okay with that. And to me, like a little bit of the train ride was like a not really the train ride, but when they find the old lady, like that didn't make sense. Like, was that old lady important? Was she important in the story? Not really. So was it there for comedic? Whatever. Okay, cool. Fine, whatever. Train ride was a little slow. Also, too, Loki being able to do all this stuff and he's throwing out a window like it's nothing, which was kind of funny. But then again, he was drunk, so
he was drunk.
We can associate it to that. But no, I mean, I think this sets up something big, and then we're gonna get episodes where they're just so huge. We're not gonna remember this episode as far as people saying it's filler. It'll just be an episode where it's like this set up this. And I think that's what the episode did great.
No, so and I say that because I didn't see too much of the whole filler idea, but I definitely did see the this episode wasn't as high octane as the other ones were. And I agree with you and with Brandon, this was not filler. I 1000% agree. It was not a filler episode. And I also agree with Ryan Christensen in the chat. I loved this episode. I love character, like some of my favorite things are character driven pieces of media. Like, and when I say that, I mean I care more about the characters than what they're doing. It's not really, you can have this kick-ass plot to a movie or show, but I need to invest in who's doing that for me to give a shit. You know what I mean? And that whole sequence on the train, I found that to be really really joyful. And when Sylvie rests and she takes a nap and Loki's doing all these like drinking songs with all the people on the train, and it's all fun and games. It's dope. I really enjoyed that. The action scenes were on point in this episode. When they came, they hit, bro. The beginning of the episode started with one. We saw Sylvie go to the TVA, which is nuts, by the way, and Loki getting his grubby hands all over the situation. still wanting to work with Sylvie, but she's like, "Nuh-uh, get away from me." And they both end up going to this planet Lamentis, where 90% of the episode takes place. Yeah. But I love that. I love the train bits. Even some of the reveals that we got. Loki's true feelings about his mother. You know, like that this Loki is saying, not movie Loki that died. This Loki that saw his mother pass away because of his actions. He's like, yo, like my mom taught me all these things. And you can tell, like, this is almost a nice amalgamation of 2012 Avengers Loki and 2017 Thor Ragnarok Loki. It's a nice mix at the moment. Yeah. And I really love that bit. Sylvie as a character, I'm incredibly fascinated by her, because the one thing we do know about her, or I should say two things. We know two things about Sylvie for sure. She is a variant for sure. She just refuses to go by the name Loki. Why? We don't know yet. She prefers to go by Sylvie. The second thing is that she's self-taught. Her mother, unlike Loki, did not teach her magic. And she's just like there. You know, like her mother was just there in her life, or wasn't there in her life. She passed away. And Loki feels some type of like sympathy or empathy for his this other version of him. And I really dug that. Ryan Christensen in the chat. What's up, Ryan? Loki thinking about what love is and telling Sylvie the episode is character development. Yes.
Absolutely.
We're developing this new Loki and also getting some of Sylvie. We didn't get too much. We got some.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing I get frustrated with Marvel fans, and all fans really, because we all do it. It's like, let it play out first, then go back and say, I think this was incorrect, or give your criticism. And I think that's the problem with a lot of these shows, because you'll see right after episode of a show, well, why did they do this? Why did they do that? I didn't like this. I didn't like that. Let it play out. Once it plays out, then criticize it. It hasn't played out yet. We're in the what? Four episodes?
This is 3. This is the 3rd episode.
3. Okay, we're even at 4. We're at 3. Bitching already? It's a filler. Come on. Like, stop. Like, stop, man. Like, let it play out and then see what happens.
See, okay. And fan expectations, a conversation I can have all day, because like
we can. What we talk about.
Right, yeah, like fan expectation, it ruins a lot of stuff. And a lot of the fan bases that we're a part of, the fans get a little too crazy sometimes. That's perfectly understandable. Why? Because we're passionate. We're all passionate about what we like, and we like what we like, especially when it's good. And the first 2 episodes of Loki were fantastic. Shit, this episode of Loki was fantastic. I love this episode. I really did, because like what Ryan said in the chat, it was character development. We don't know this Loki. This Loki is a Loki we have not seen before, who knows his fate, who knows he's in the place where he's essentially powerless, and then he's introduced to this variant version of him from a different timeline that we have no idea about, and we're seeing more of him. He came out as bisexual in this episode. We didn't know that. A lot of folks just presumed that because of the version of the character that we get in the comic books, because that version of the character is real. And I think it's even implied in some books that Loki was shape-shifted to different genders. Okay, but in this one, it's just straight bisexual. Even the director, Kate Herron, she said on Twitter, "Yo, Loki's bi. It's canon in the MCU." Great, that's incredible. We didn't know that prior to this. It's the little things that matter to me. And this episode's strictly character development. Yeah, we didn't get any Mobius. Yes, we were barely at the TVA today. And what's next with this plot? No idea. That's the best part of this show. It's hard. And we talked about this before. This is probably the most difficult piece of Marvel to anticipate, because we can't prepare ourselves for what's next because of the nature of the character of Loki. He's the god of mischief, right? Constantly. And by the way, it was fun seeing him use his powers again in this episode. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Teleporting. It's a lot of fun.
Making what is it?
Like the fireworks off the hand.
The fireworks, but then also Yeah,
or the
he
daggers.
shapeshifted. Yeah, he did a lot of cool things in here.
And we got to see a lot of Loki isms, and he's essentially playing off a version of himself. Like, so we got to see these two Lokis, or two versions of Loki, on this weird, I don't want to say buddy cop, but this weird duo and their adventures to stay alive, because they went to Lamentis, which is one of those apocalyptic planets and timelines that Sylvie likes to hide in from time to time. And the whole premise of this episode was getting the little time pad thing recharged and trying to get themselves off the planet. But it was deeper than that. I thought this episode was really enjoyable. At first, I'm like, did I like that? When I watched at 2:00 in the morning, I'm like, did I like that? Like 10 minutes went by. Yo, I really like that. Another 10 minutes went by. I was scrolling through TikTok and I just looked up. I'm like, yo, I love that episode. And maybe it's just the fanboy in me. Maybe it's the fanboy in me that's like, you know what? I'm going to love everything Marvel puts out. But I thought this was genuinely really good. But, Suge, there's one thing we were right about. Like, in regards to takeaways, besides the character development, there's one thing that I feel like it was the worst kept secret in this whole show. The TVA is sus. As hell. And I feel like if you're watching this show, I feel like you knew that. If you didn't know the TVA was sus, I envy your naivety. But yo, we straight up hear from Sylvie that the hunter from the TVA that we saw earlier in the episode, she got like mind wiped or memory wiped, because those are her memories that they were in earlier in the episode when they were like on the beach at the restaurant.
And Mobius has told us that they're just all created by the TVA. So why would she have memories? And so you saw that, and you kind of knew that's what's going to be implied, but you weren't. And then she straight out says it, where she says they're all variants like us.
Exactly.
So you're trying to figure out when a variant gets judged, do they wipe their mind and make them an agent or a soldier, Minuteman, whatever they were calling it? Or what do they do? Because they seem to always judge these variants, and then all of a sudden now they become part of the TVA. So that's something very interesting. Obviously, Mobius talks about being on a jet ski. That's probably a memory of his. That's why he's talking about it.
Right.
That's probably excuse me, eating. I haven't eaten since I got
You're
home.
fine. Go crazy.
I'm trying
to post this on the Facebook. I'm trying to do a little cross promo. But no, the entire that it was 2 sentences. It was what Sylvie said and Loki's response. And then they're like, oh yeah, we gotta go to the ship and get off this planet so we can stay alive. And not Loki, Sylvie said it with such like she was just, yeah, they're mind wiped. Like, they're of course not all created, because that's the one thing, at least that as far as we know, that the TVA has lied to Loki about. Like Mobius straight up said, like what you mentioned, everybody's created in the TVA. Obviously not. Everyone's not created.
Obviously not.
And I mean, since the jump, when we were first introduced to the people at the TVA, and I came on this podcast and I said, yo, like the TVA sus. I don't know what's sus about them, but they're sus. And again, this reinforces that Marvel thing where no one who has a level of power can be trusted. That's almost a cliche in Marvel at this point. We've seen authority figures be corrupted in some way, shape, or form. And this one, is it the TVA itself that's corrupted, or is it the timekeepers? Because I've heard these crazy ass.
I believe it's the timekeepers, and I think we're not gonna get the Kane reveal, or we might get a snippet of him, but it's obviously Kane's behind it.
Oh, you think it's straight up Kang the Conqueror?
Yeah, because it makes sense of why the judge, and I don't remember her character's name.
I'll pull it up.
But that character is tied to Kane. She's a love interest. So it makes sense that she's
Renslayer.
protecting Renslayer. Yeah, it makes sense that she is protecting the timekeepers.
She's definitely incredibly villainous. Yes, thank you, Brandon, in the chat. Renslayer.
Yeah, thank you, Brandon.
She's incredibly. I think she's definitely the bridge between the timekeepers and the TVA. That's why Mobius is like, hey, oh man, like why haven't I met the timekeepers? And then he does the whole, like, and she tells him like,
that's a horrible.
that was a good. Oh, I thought I kind of nailed it.
Horrible. Stick to being a host, okay?
What's up, Jed Bryan in the chat? What's up, bud? What's good, Jed? But yes, Renslayer. I think Renslayer. She may be. Damn it. Because I want my theory of Richard E. Grant. He's somewhere. We're halfway through the show. We haven't seen him yet. He's casted. We just don't know where the hell he's at or what he's doing. I'm still behind the fact that he's a Loki of some kind. But let me throw this at you. This is not my thought. This is not my theory. Mm-hmm. What if the timekeepers are variants of Loki or the OG Loki? And they're trying to wipe out the Lokis, our Loki included, so it can not goof up what's going on.
No, I don't think that works.
Not that I agree. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, I don't think that would work because then where does Kane come into play? We all know Kane is the big bad. It could be a lie, Suge. No, but we know Kane is the big next bad. We know that.
Yeah. I mean, you don't just cast Kane the Conqueror for to be in one movie.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense for the timekeepers to be versions of Loki. Now, what makes sense is the timekeepers have seen the future, the past, and the present. Loki's the key. Therefore, that's why they're trying to wipe out Loki's, because they know he's the key of eventually beating them.
Oh.
Which brings my theory of Sylvie being the next Loki, shows up in Love and Thunder to warn Thor about whatever the problem is, whatever the issue, like whatever their plan is. Because right now, a little secret that came out today: there's no Avengers movie for Phase 4.
Excuse me? Where'd that come from? Who said that?
Feige said it today.
Shut up. There's no Phase. Wow.
The last movie in Phase 4 is going to be Fantastic Four.
Holy God, that's got some breaking news over here on WAT Reel Entertainment. I didn't know that. Oh my God.
Yeah, it just popped up today. It popped up on some things I was looking at. Okay. So if that's the case, you're talking about Ant-Man Wasp. Kane pops up in that movie. So when does Love and Thunder take place? When does Ant-Man take place? And where does Fantastic Four take place? So I'm assuming all these movies are going to set like Multitude of Madness. So what I'm predicting is this Loki series is going to set up Multitude of Madness, what sets up Spider-Man. Then it also sets up what happens in Love and Thunder, or the ending of Love and Thunder, and the conflict that's going to come in possibly at the end of Fantastic Four.
Wow. Okay.
There's a lot of impact there. There's a lot of impact.
So Phase 4, this will be the first phase without an Avengers movie, which is also pretty nuts. But we have so much to set up now going forward. It's bigger than, let's do four Marvel movies and then bam, the Avengers. And yes, Brandon in the chat, Spider-Man does come out before Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness. And that's something I've been questioning.
I was saying it as not in that order, but it sets up these things.
Right.
But like they could do it to where Spider-Man happens and all that's going on, but Doctor Strange, as far as time-wise, is before Spider-Man.
It could be. It totally could be.
Because I think were any of these movies delayed?
They all were. Every single one of them.
But I'm saying, like, was Doctor Strange supposed to be out first?
Doctor Strange supposed to come out this year.
No. But I'm talking about before COVID. Was Doctor Strange
Yes,
supposed to come out
yes.
before?
If I'm not
And then
mistaken,
when,
yes.
and then when was Spider-Man supposed to come out? After?
I want to say so. Someone can correct me in the chat if they had an original release date for Spider-Man No Way Home. But as far as I'm concerned, Doctor Strange was supposed to come out first. But I know things change. A lot of things change at Marvel. But so Phase 4 is gonna. So we got these shows, and we have a butt ton of shows. A butt ton. We got like Hawkeye, Miss Marvel, Secret Invasion coming.
But it makes sense, Chris, that we're not going to have an Avengers movie because technically, there's no Avengers.
There is.
Captain America's gone.
Yeah.
Iron Man is dead.
Is it? What's this yes for, Brandon? Is that Doctor Strange before Spider-Man? Let me know. Go ahead, Sean.
And so if you think about it, we don't have it. We don't have an Avengers team. So it makes sense. Right now, the world's going to be in kind of, like Peter Parker. He went through that issue with, what he went through in his movie, which was after the battle Endgame.
Oh, right.
And so now you see what Scarlet Witch is dealing with. Now you see what Loki. Well, and actually, Loki takes place before Endgame, technically.
Yeah, in some twisted way. Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
or before the events. Yeah.
So we're not. So the only movie we have past Endgame is Spider-Man. So now Doctor Strange. And other than shows, because Falcon and Winter Soldier is after Endgame.
Like Black Widow's a prequel. Shang-Chi, I think Shang-Chi's also after Endgame. I'd be surprised if they put it beforehand. I know that Kevin Feige has said they're not opposed to doing more prequels. Don't do prequels, y'all. Don't. Please don't. One's enough. That Black Widow one's enough. But I think Shang-Chi should take place after Endgame. Brandon in the chat. Also, Brandon, thank you. DS2 originally released was May 2021. No Way Home was July. So yeah, you're totally onto something.
Well, there's a reason, and people have been saying it, why they have not released the Spider-Man trailer yet, because it has spoilers for what possibly happens in here and stuff like that. So
we might get a trailer for Spider-Man before Black Widow, or like in the trailer pack before Black Widow. Who knows?
I mean. And Marvel, when they come out with their trailers, they mess with it a little bit, take some stuff out so it seems different. Because if you go back and watch the trailers, I do that a lot, Chris. I don't know if you do it. You ever go back and watch the trailers and then look at the movie and you go, okay, so like there's that when Captain America has Thanos' hand. Mm-hmm. He has all the stones, but in the trailer he doesn't. He only has 2. So that was like, okay, that was that's what happened. The Civil War when they run at each other at the airport. Remember, they didn't have Spider-Man in there.
Yeah, until the second trailer, and then they put him in.
No, they didn't even have it in the second trailer. I'm talking about when they run at each other. If you watch it when they run at each other, they don't have him in there.
Sure, you're right.
Sure,
you're right.
It's the same thing with Loki. There's an image. There's an image of when Sylvie is fighting the guards, but in the trailer she has the hood on. If you watch the show, she doesn't have the hood on. She has her hair, she ties her hair up. So they always mess with things. They change them. So I think that's why they don't want to release a trailer for Spider-Man yet. It might be we might not get a trailer till after Loki's over.
Ooh. Because so Spider-Man No Way Home is going to be probably the weirdest Spider-Man flick because of the incorporation of the multiverse and how they're doing stuff. Like, I still can't get over the fact that Alfred Molina's in this, Jamie Foxx is in this, potentially Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in some extent.
Even though they say they're not.
Just judging by Andrew Garfield's reaction to when Josh Horowitz has Josh Horowitz, the interviewer in that on the podcast, just asked him, or he didn't even ask him. He just mentioned the movie, and Andrew Garfield's like, "No, I don't know. They never called me." It's like you're a load of shit.
Chris, being Latino and Black, and me being Latino, Puerto Rican, how would you lose it at the end of Spider-Man? Spider-Man swings off, and all of a sudden you see a black suit, and it pans, and it's Miles Morales.
Yeah, okay. When
Like when Morpheus comes out, they have to have at the end of that movie a shot of Blade. Like just turn the camera and Blade's on his motorcycle chilling.
It's like it's just Mahershala Ali in all leather.
On a motorcycle. Like you would lose your shit. But at the end of Spider-Man, something happens and then it pans and then you see either a black suit Spider-Man swinging, you see either Venom standing there, or you see Miles Morales. Any of that, I would lose my shit.
I mean, it's no secret that I'm a big fan of Spider-Man, but I was like moved emotionally when Into the Spider-Verse came out because I love Miles Morales as a character. I identify with Miles the most for obvious reasons. And
obviously.
Yeah, for obvious
You're not
reasons.
Puerto Rican, though, so I don't know why. No.
I am not Puerto Rican, but I'm Black and Latino, so that works for me. Close enough. Right. But when I saw him on screen, I'm like, it's a matter of time before he's introduced in live action. It is a matter of time, especially how successful that character was. That movie made the buku bucks at the box office. I think they came out in December of all things. And here we are. We're still talking about Miles. And Miles became a big part of the Marvel Comics after that. Yes, he was a big part beforehand, but they really pushed him into the forefront, making him an Avenger, putting him with the champions, the pseudo Young Avengers team. Like, Miles became a big deal. And now with Sony being like, oh, wait, y'all want a brown? You want the brown guy Spider-Man too? Oh, okay, word. We can do that. Because in this movie, we're supposedly going to get like the ultimate amalgamation of Spider-Man people, of Spider people. Getting Toby from the originals, Andrew from the two Amazing Spider-Man flicks, and then Tom. Granted, who knows if that's true? We'll see. But seeing Miles in some way, shape, or form, he exists in the MCU because Aaron Davis, we saw him in Spider-Man Homecoming as Donald Glover, and Donald mentions his nephew, or Aaron Davis mentions his nephew, that nephew being Miles Morales. So Miles definitely exists. And if Miles didn't go away in the snap, age him up, 6 years? He's probably like 15. That's the perfect age. That's perfect. He could be younger than that because Miles is like historically younger than Peter. But this Peter Parker is freaking 18 or 19 years old.
Yeah, he's 18 or 19. So it would be interesting what they try to do with it. Because what I do like about Miles Morales, and look, I'll say I am a Peter Parker. I've always loved Peter Parker.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I love Peter.
What is great about Miles Morales, especially when you watch like Into the Spider-Verse and read the comics of how he takes up the mantle, and especially in Spider-Verse, they really showcase that, but also too how he almost brings Peter back on the brink of his issues, and how he's a moral compass for Peter, but then he becomes his own Spider-Man. Like he doesn't depend on Peter,
no,
which is what I love. You know, I love that. Even though he helps Peter and he becomes this moral compass, not a moral compass, but becomes this like beacon of light for Peter, he becomes his own Spider-Man, and he's not held by Peter standards, because usually most Spider-Mans have been held by Peter Parker standards, and he's the one that's not, and he's the one that's broken out of that shell of, no, I'm a different kind of Spider-Man, and you're this is something different compared to Peter Parker, and people loved it. So that's what I loved about Miles Morales, and obviously being Puerto Rican, and I'm Puerto Rican, I do relate to that. Mm-hmm. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do, because obviously, like, again, it's a thing that I've had a conversation with before. You sit back as a kid in 2001 when I was in high school. Never thought in my head I would ever see an Avengers movie. Never thought I would see. Right. Then you get the Avengers, and everyone's like, "Oh man!" We had the X-Men movies, but they were like, "Okay, cool." But then you're like, "Man, it would be dope to see like the X-Men." That's not gonna happen because of Fox. And then it's like, it would be dope to see Spider-Man. That's not gonna happen because of Sony. And then we got Spider-Man with the Avengers, and it's impactful parts of the Avengers. That when he came into Civil War, that was impactful.
He stole the movie the second he got on screen.
Look at Infinity War. Infinity War was emotional because of Spider-Man and how he was, and I've heard people complain, oh well, Tony Stark took the place of Ben Parker and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, but we've seen that story a million times. How many
Right.
times have we seen Ben Parker get murdered? Like,
see
God damn it, I don't want to see it anymore.
Twice in 20 years.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, if you think about the cartoons, you think
Oh
about the,
God. Yeah,
yeah.
we've seen Ben die a few times.
Yeah, I'm like, make it a little different, and I like this. People complain, oh well, the Spider-Man, but also too, the character's so young, so
And Ben's still dead. It's not like Ben's not around or Ben never
yeah,
existed. Ben Parker died, and we just
yeah,
don't know how, or if how Peter's direct involvement with it, because it could be like a Tobey Maguire deal where he let the shooter go, or like an Andrew Garfield deal again where he let the shooter go, but both those were out of anger and spite. I don't see this version of the character being so full of anger.
He says it when he talks to Tony Stark, where he says, "I've had these powers, and when you don't do anything about it, use them." Basically, saying if you don't use them for good, things happen, bad things happen,
right?
And I'm supposed to stop it, but I did. So maybe he had the powers, didn't stop a situation, and it caused the death of his uncle. But
right,
going back to what I was trying to say is, Marvel has a way of putting characters into movies and just making it like so spectacle, and so and so I whatever they do with this movie, Spider-Man movie, I'm excited for. I'm excited for Doctor Strange. Like the first Doctor Strange, I was excited for, but it was like not the movie that I thought I would like. I'm like, okay, it's cool. It's the visuals are dope, but kind of boring. This and that.
Word.
I'm excited to see, because I want to see if Wanda turns crazy and you got this badass Scarlet Witch versus the Sorcerer Supreme, because we do know in the comic books Doctor Strange becomes the Sorcerer Supreme. He's the baddest fucking sorcerer out there, only trumped by Scarlet Witch. So I want to see them go at it. How does this affect the multiverse? I've talked about how that part of the MCU fits with Ghost Rider. What if they brought Ghost Rider, because he's spiritual, the mystical, and all that stuff. He's into that, so that would be dope. I mean, obviously, I don't think they're going to bring him in yet, or have plans to. But I'm just saying,
a boy could dream. A boy could.
Yeah, but the possibilities when they say the multiverse. What if there's a chance you look and there's a portal open, you see a guy with a flame head riding a motorcycle?
It wouldn't be too
lose it.
It wouldn't be too far off. We're seeing gods and magic and dark magic and teenage boys with spider powers. Like, are you telling me a demon or like the spirit of vengeance can't walk through hell and with the leather jacket on and some chains, bro? Come on.
Yeah.
It's like, it'd be hard.
But what if we get a portal? Strange opens up a portal and you see the X-Men standing there.
We could, man. That's the crazy part.
What if they open a portal and you see Ryan Reynolds standing there? And then he looks at the camera and just breaks the fourth wall. Oh my God, would I lose my shit?
And you know what the craziest part about all this is that if you would have told me a month ago, not even 6 months ago, a month ago, that Loki would be the key to the multiverse in the MCU and really unleashing it into the world or into the universe, like shut up. And a
lot of people thought Wanda was going to be, and it wasn't.
And Wanda wasn't, and we got tease after tease after tease, and the end credits scene to the finale of WandaVision definitely alluded to it, with her hearing her sons, her fictional sons. But Loki now is like, we've heard the M word multiple times, the multiverse. We've heard that M word a few times now, but now Loki, I feel like by the end of the series, will slingshot that into the MCU. Now, the ramifications of the characters involved, we have no idea. The presence of the TVA, I'm totally expecting the typical TVA is going to collapse. There's going to be like no one really watching the timeline or the timelines in this case, because right now, by the way, Lamentis, at no point did the characters acknowledge that there are a bunch of screwed up timelines now because of Sylvie's actions in episode 2. But Loki now is the gateway, or at least the slingshots getting the M word into different avenues. Yes, well, Brandon said in the chat a little bit ago, Doctor Strange 2 is supposed to come out first. So we're supposed to hear that first, that whole bit. But it didn't happen. Same thing for Spider-Man. And who knows, Loki probably would have came out between the two. But and it would have
I
made
think so.
perfect sense. But now, with how we're watching this in the order that we are,
COVID.
right? COVID freaking ruined everything, dude. But now we're getting Loki first, and Loki is really laying the groundwork for the multiverse of how crazy he might get. And who knows? We may see some type of mention of a Sorcerer Supreme, because they said the Sorcerer Supreme in the finale of WandaVision straight up. Like Agatha was like, "Yo, yeah, some Sorcerer Supreme, whatever the hell." It's like, "Oh, Doctor Strange. Oh, okay, word." And same thing for No Way Home. We were going to get the ramifications of Loki, presumably, and Doctor Strange before that film came out. But now the whole release schedule's out of whack, so we have no idea what the hell is going on. So it's weird to say that I shouldn't say that Loki is going to really slingshot us into the multiverse, because Doctor Strange will really do that for us and really introduce that aspect of everything. But I shouldn't say introduce it. Well, explore the whole multiverse and everything going around, because Loki won't do that. I'm assuming that Loki will not go too crazy on the multiverse. It'll be more so.
I think it sets up the event. It doesn't set up, it just sets up the event that's going to take place in Doctor Strange.
Or, I mean, the movie was supposed to come out before this, presumably. So we have, I don't know if we have a direct line, at least as of right now, until we know something about Doctor Strange. Because the only thing we know about Doctor Strange is Wanda's in it. We're going to see more Baron Mordo. And, geez, I think that's really it. Oh, and he's in Spider-Man, too. So, got to keep that in mind as well. We're going to see Stephen Strange in Spider-Man. Why? How? Who the hell knows? But right now with Loki, yes, was there a lot to pinpoint from this episode? Not really, but I feel like the beats that did happen, it was a lot of walking and talking. It was a lot of walking and talking. But we got a lot of good stuff out of that. The whole bit on the TVA. TVA confirmed sus. Confirmed sus. Now, I want to talk about that third. I want to, I don't want to be that guy. At the same time, yeah, I did call the TVA being incredibly sus, because they are, and now we got the confirmation that they are, and I want to see how our Loki, confronts that, and especially because let's be real, like the last 5 minutes of the episode told us after that great action sequence and Loki straight up stopping a building, right? I'm assuming that's what you were talking about earlier, seeing some stuff that Loki's never done before.
Yeah.
The building was falling, and he's like, huh! And he straight up caught it and threw it back or put it back into place. We had never seen him do that before. Like, exude that much magic at once. Like, that's nuts.
It just stopped it.
And the whole last like 5 minutes was straight kick-ass. It was a lot of fighting, and it was rad. I love the action sequences in this episode between Loki and Sylvie. Like, it was like a nice contrast of styles, because their power sets are different, and I like that they even acknowledged that. They're like, yo, how'd you do that? How'd you do that? Like, it was like these Lokis are different in all the best ways. And then we see the whole ship blow up as the timeline is like, it's still as Destiny had it. The escape ship blew up anyway. And the episode ended on that note of like, what's going to happen to our heroes or to our favorite characters now? Yeah. I saw some crazy ass theory about how Loki is going to die. Our Loki is going to die, and Sylvie will be the protagonist going forward. Like how
that would be interesting. That would actually be interesting,
because the show's called Loki, and Sylvie's still a Loki.
Yeah, I've seen people say that he has the time stone, which doesn't make sense because he would have used it.
And the time stone, and I want to get off the idea that Loki has an Infinity Stone. He doesn't. My man does not have an Infinity Stone.
I have a feeling Mobius is going to show up. He's going to show up.
Oh yeah, they're going to save them, both of them.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen most likely, which is fine. It's predictable, but I think that's going to be the setup of Loki telling Mobius, "You're not you were created by the Timekeepers. You're a variant," and then she's going to read Mobius's mind to tell him who he really is.
Oh yeah, that's totally gonna freaking happen too, because in Mobius, all the like the little drinks that he's having throughout the episodes, they're all like discontinued things from the 90s and stuff. So my man was plucked from the 90s.
Yeah, he was plucked from the 90s. He could be a superhero. That's why, because somehow they fucked up time. So he could be anybody. So it's gonna be interesting.
He could be.
Yeah.
I saw this other crazy theory of everyone at the TVA being a variant of Loki and not knowing it because their minds got wiped. That's nuts to say out loud. But I don't think so. I think that would. I mean, I'm stubborn, but I like my Lokis. I like the two we got for right now. I don't want them to be the only two until we see Richard E. Grant pop up, because it's only a matter of time before that dude's also Loki. I have a feeling. But this, I want to know how this episode, because you only get 6, and you have the time. And you use one whole episode, granted the shortest episode by far in the 3 that we got, and you dedicate it to character development between these two characters. But even then, we still know jack shit about Sylvie and her plan. We know nothing besides that she wants the TVA. She wants to take down the TVA. That's the only thing that we want that we know. We don't know why. We don't know how exactly she's gonna do it. She just wants to take down the TVA for whatever reason. And unless I missed something in the episode, at no point did she even allude to what she was doing. She barely alluded to herself, talking about her mom. She could have been lying. She could have been lying like Loki would. We know our Loki wasn't lying because we saw that. We saw the relationship he had with this mom before she died in the dark world. But yo, I'm not backing the idea of this being filler. This has to mean something. They're definitely gonna pick up immediately after the events of this episode. They have to. I mean, that's how this episode started.
Well, now that it's episode 4, you got technically 3 episodes? Episode 4, 5, and 6. Mm-hmm. Assuming 6 is going to be long, so now you're gonna so it's gonna pick up right away, and then I think it's gonna because even Tom Hiddleston said it's gonna set up a lot. So I think this next episode and after that is just gonna set up everything.
And it's funny that you say Tom Hiddleston, because he also said, because someone, I think it was, he was on Jimmy Kimmel's show, I think, and he was asked like, oh yo, what's your favorite? Do you have a favorite episode? Without giving anything away, do you have a favorite episode? And he said, oh, episodes 4 and 5 together, the 2 of them. And now that's what we're gonna get this upcoming Wednesday. And I'm curious because now we're gonna get into it. The TVA is gonna get their hands on Sylvie and vice versa. Loki's fully aware of what's going on with the TVA and how sus they are. And not only is he a rogue agent like how he was for them before, he's a rogue agent with information against them. So Mobius is going to be in the know. Who Mobius is, that's another fun question, if he is anyone of importance. Because he's a variant. All the folks there are variants. If they're not variants and they were just taken out of the timeline, the sacred timeline's been goofed with for decades, for centuries even.
What if he's the white version of Nick Fury?
No.
Yeah, he come from another timeline. He was another version.
What if Mobius is like a real piece of shit? Like he's somebody that like an antagonist, someone that we would consider an antagonist by typical Marvel standards. What if he's a bad guy? Yeah, I'm like, like we have no idea. Nick can make Mobius anybody. And
what if he's Kane just undercover? You know.
If we see, I know we talked about this last week or the first time. Was it last week? Yeah, last week with Connor. The idea of Kang the Conqueror popping up in the show, we've seen the character's face, or at least a version of Kang the Conqueror, right? But will we see actual Kang, or will we hear his name uttered in this? Because I think that will mean more Because remember at the end of the first Avengers where we just saw Thanos smirk, like he turned back and just smirked. I think if we just even hear his name uttered by Renslayer, like, oh, Kang, we'd all lose our damn minds collectively as a group. And we may hear that over the next 2 episodes. I feel like a lot of shit's going to go down over the next couple weeks. And Black Widow comes out in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from tomorrow, as of this recording. And we're going to have the finale of Loki after the fact. So I know the release schedule is weird, and we talked about the release schedule. But, yo, where do you think the show goes from this point forward? Because I think all the things that we talked about in the last couple weeks are thrown out the window. Like, this show is going to take us in different directions every single week.
If you think so, I think we're on the right path. Like I said, I think it's going to come to a point where our Loki, we know, it's going to sacrifice himself somehow, and he thinks he's doing it for the right reasons, and he's not, or he thinks he gets what he gets the job done, but it actually doesn't help. It actually makes the multiverse, and we're gonna get to that. I think that's where the end goal is with this show. How we get there, it's gonna pertain to what happens next. I didn't even think about it. Does this TVA show up, grab them both, finally gets her hands on Sylvie, possibly getting ready to delete her? Then Loki talks to Mobius and says, "Hey, man, you're a variant." And then she shows him and all this stuff. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do.
They're definitely going to interrogate her. Like, they're going to at least try to interrogate her. And that's where because the TVA is going to be shitty with Loki because they think he turned on them, which he had every intention to. But as far as they know, he just ran through the portal with Sylvie, and it looks sus. It looks weird. So they might try to interrogate them both. Mobius being like, man, I trusted you, man. Wow. Like, doing the whole thing. And then he gets shown his past life before the TVA. I think that'd be really cool. And we would get the confirmation of the jet ski. He may just be a normal dude that did something bad or that did something to mess up the timeline that wasn't supposed to happen. Like, he just may be a regular guy. And Owen Wilson's just been playing a dude this whole time. But I like to think that everything means something in the MCU, especially big characters. And especially if you get a guy like Owen Wilson, right? Like, you just don't get Owen Wilson to play a nobody, which would be the most MCU thing to do. But still, I could think otherwise. But these next couple episodes, we're going to be revealed to the big bad. The big bad. And I was convinced that it was Richard E. Grant or a version of Loki, another variant. The big bad is the TVA. At least if we're considering the Loki's protagonists. The antagonists of the series would be the TVA. As Sylvie's like, yo, they're wiping brains. They're incredibly sus. And Renslayer, the big person in charge over there at the TVA, has direct contact with the Timekeepers who want Sylvie dead, and presumably Loki in the process. And especially now that they think he turned on them sooner rather than later. But I am so intrigued on how this is going to go. Because when we were watching WandaVision or Falcon Winter Soldier, we're over here like, oh man, it was I don't want to say easy to predict, but a lot of things were laid out for us. More so Falcon Winter Soldier than WandaVision. But this one, I feel like I don't even know. I don't even have an idea for the show's going to go. But episodes 4 and 5 are going to be fun. But before we wrap, Suge, is there anything that we missed? Anything you want to touch on from the episode, or any final predictions or anything? What's good?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited just to see the next episode to see where they take it. So that's what I'm excited for.
I loved this episode from a character development standpoint. I thought granted, we didn't learn anything about Sylvie for the most part, besides the stuff with her mom and her powers. But I feel like that was enough for us to give a shit about the character. And now the stuff with her and Loki, they have a nice dynamic. And, they may be reluctant to work with each other, but now I think they're on the same side, for better or for worse. And we'll see how that affects the good guys in the universe, because obviously we're rooting for two bad guys. If we say it out loud, these Lokis are bad people. Like they're not good guys. We should be rooting for them.
We tend to forget about that.
Right. But like what's the saying? Like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And so the whole TVA stuff, now we think the TVA are a bunch of pieces of shit. So we're like, oh yeah, take that to TVA. Yeah, who cares? Screw the timeline. Sacred timeline my ass. Who gives a shit? But now I'm loving this show. This show's so damn good. I don't know if I agree with Connor and it being the best Marvel thing ever, but as long as the show doesn't fall apart in the last episode like Falcon Winter Soldier did, I'll be okay. I think I'll be okay. But with all that being said, thank you so much for listening or watching, for Chris's sake, if you're watching this live on WAT. If you are watching this on WAT, first of all, thank you. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment if you're watching this after the fact. I know there are a bunch of Loki reviews that are going down all over the internet, and we are grateful that you came and watched ours.
Watch ours. Don't watch
just watch ours. Like we don't like breakdowns of episodes. Nah, we just talk about what happens. It's nice laid back discussion you can catch every single week live per the request of Suge Knight 323 on TikTok and Twitter. And of course, if you're listening to this on For Chris's Sake's audio feeds, thank you for checking those out. Subscribe, follow, share this with your buddies, whether it's the audio feed or the live feed here on WAT. But Suge, go ahead and give us all your plug skis. Where can the folks find you?
You already said it. Suge Knight 323 at TikTok and Twitter. I just signed up for Hover, and it's Suge Knight 323. Hover is a gaming version of TikTok. So you post your gaming clips and everything like that. But it's a gaming version of TikTok. So I just discovered that. And so that's pretty dope. So I'll be trying to do some stuff on there. And then, you can find me every Monday here with Chris, talking Schmodown, Spin from the Real. We pull no punches. And then hopefully every Thursday, if my internet holds up, or Wednesday, whenever one of those 2 days, we talk Loki, man. And right now after this, I have to go do another Loki review. So just check all that out. And look out on Twitter for me, and just please retweet stuff and things like that.
Word. And of course,
and check out my TikTok, because me and Chris are doing some things, not together, but the same thing, and it's kind of dope. I sent out a TikTok today, and then I messaged him right away, and I said, "You need to do yours because I want."
I saved it, so I'm gonna do it. I'm definitely gonna do it because I have thoughts, but again, I will say them on my TikTok, because I am on TikTok. You can follow me on Twitter and TikTok at C Anthony Lopez. I am surprisingly active on TikTok, so if you want to go ahead and see my stupid mug on that, you can go ahead and follow me. Of course, on Twitter, I have all my thoughts on everything: sports, movies, TV. All that jazz on Twitter at C, the letter C, Anthony Lopez. Of course, here on WAT, I am on Spin for the Real with Suge and Matt Thomas every Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Wrestle Reel, that's tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. Spoiler alert, it's a pre-tape. We had some things happen, and we had to pre-tape the episode. It's Wrestle Reel nonetheless, and we are doing that tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. And of course, when we talk Loki on the channel, I think this is a good time. Is this a good time for us for the rest of the show? Next couple of weeks.
Yeah, next week might be either we're late or early, but yeah, I like this.
Just subscribe to the channel. You'll see the stream's going to be up, the thumbnail's going to be up, and follow us on the socials for all that jazz. And of course, follow us on the WAT socials at WAT Reel 2 E's ENT, E-N-T, because we have a lot of fun stuff going on. You might be asking yourself, "Hey guys, isn't this Really Scared's time slot?" Typically it is, but Taylor Cleek, co-host of Really Scared, he posted the video explaining why Really Scared is on hiatus for at least through the month of July. So they're going to be off the channel for a little bit. Everybody's fine. Everybody's good. It's just a lot of stuff's going on. We have a lot of things, a lot of moving parts, and Really Scared was a victim of that. So they had to shelf the show for a little bit. But hey, we'll be here on Thursdays talking some Loki to fill the time, and maybe we can do more fun stuff. We talked Spider-Man for 20 minutes, so maybe we can do that again on a different day.
Yeah, for sure. Make sure to check out when Taylor does Twitch, because he's doing Sims right now.
Oh my god! When he played The Sims stuff that he did yesterday, by the way, on Twitch, WAT_Reel2East podcasts. Follow us on there. But oh my god, the Sims Twitch stream last night was probably the funniest thing I've seen on this channel. I was cracking the hell up the whole night. It was so funny. It was a great time watching Taylor play, and we're gonna be more active. I totally have intentions of playing games on the stream for the first time in I think forever or for a while. So just follow us everywhere. We're all over the damn place. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for listening on the For Chris's Sake feeds. For Suge 9323, my name is Chris Lamentis Lopez. It's a WAT Boy summer over here, and we are definitely some real geeks on WAT Reel Entertainment. We'll see you guys next time. And for Chris's sake, be good people. Adios. Later, guys.